It's G from the Academy here. Totally unscripted, um, which would normally cause me to panic, but we're running out of time. We're always running out of time. And I have perused at least 20 plus articles in the last 24 hours about our predicament and our situation. And there's not enough time to get into every facet and every aspect. And that's one of the problems that we have. We can't know everything about everything. So we have to base our society on a certain level of trust. Therein lies the problem. Not everybody is trustworthy. You've got to know people personally before you can trust any information coming from them. Anyway, this is part of the problem with media. The media is creating a hysteria right now, and the people don't have much choice except to go along with it. It's a perfect design, and the people are being put under a lot of pressure, and this is going to have a whole set of so-called unintended consequences, which might actually be worse than the main problem itself. But that's irrelevant. If you're watching when I say irrelevant, what I mean is we've got other things to get to today. Let's try to focus on what we can focus on, and I've selected a couple of articles that I want to read through with you to give you some scope, some understanding of what it is that we're facing. Again, if you want to link up, you should be able, if you're watching the video version, to check out my Facebook page under my full name, which is Graham William Hendry. We'll see how long this page stays up for. I try to share what I can, despite the shadow banning that's going on. I think that as long as we do what we can, there's not much that we have to complain about. So let's dive in and not waste any more time. The first article that I want to check out today has the title, Coronavirus First British Arrest After Man Breaks Quarantine. The first because it's going to be one of many. There's going to be more. There are going to be more problems. This story comes from The Independent, Friday the 20th of March. I try to keep these stories in this podcast series relevant to what's happening right now. Although we might jump around a little bit because we can get some context from the past. Anyway, let's go through the article together. The first arrest of a person for breaking coronavirus. I still keep calling it contravirus because I think it's contrary to everything which is logical within the human brain. Can't get that out of my head. The first arrest of a person for breaking coronavirus regulations has been made in the British Isles. Police in the Isle of Man said they had taken a man into custody for failing to adhere to the new legislation requiring him to self-isolate. You're required to do it. It's a requirement. Please follow the guidance issued by the government and think about the safety of the community, a spokesperson said. Yes, because it's not about the safety of the individual anymore. It's about the safety of the community. Fuck the individual is basically what's happening. This is an ever-evolving situation, and it is important we act in the best interest of keeping people safe, because the government knows how to keep people safe, because the government started this with their bioweapons laboratories in the first place. They have a lot to answer for. The self-governing British Crown dependency. What does that even mean? Self-governing British Crown dependency which sits in the Irish Sea, has brought in its own laws to tackle the coronavirus epidemic. There's an epidemic of insanity. That's what's happening. Oh, there we go. Oh, did you see at the top of the page there? If you heard some music bounce in there for a second, at the top of the page, they've got these running statistics on latest cases to. It's a rolling graph to scare the hell out of people. That's what it is. When are the media going to be held accountable for the insanity that they're inducing? Because they're not helping people. They're not printing information about health and nutrition. Powers to detain and forcibly isolate people. Forcibly isolate people. We need to get into the coronavirus bill, which passed in Britain, which removes basically anybody's right to anything. It's frightening. Powers to detain and force. Do you think it's going to be reversed? Do you think they're going to reverse that at any point in time? Powers to detain and forcibly isolate people with symptoms. Symptoms. They don't even have to have the disease. They just have to have symptoms. Came into force earlier this month and allowed people to be detained for 48 hours for testing and held in hospital for 2 weeks. Going to have those special clinics set up, aren't they? New arrivals in the Isle of Man are required to self-isolate for 14 days, even if they are not showing symptoms. Who knows where it's all going to end up. Anyone who does not follow the rules could face a £10,000 fine or 3 months in jail. Now, what you have to understand about fines is they're there to terrorize the poor people. Do you think rich people worry about that? Really, they don't. Not that I'm saying that people are automatically good or bad because of that. It's just something to think about, that's all. By Friday morning, the territory had 1 confirmed coronavirus case after conducting 52 tests. Doesn't seem to be a lot of tests. One person. The patient had recently returned to the Isle of Man from a trip to Spain, a spokesperson said for the Isle of Man government. The public health team has been in touch with the patient to provide advice and support and to force them to do everything that they don't want to do. Yes, but what I get it. I get it. There's an argument on the other side. Yes, I get it. Chief Minister Howard Quayle announced the cancellation of the famed Isle of Man TT motor race, but has not yet closed schools or restricted public gatherings. Look at that. Not yet closed schools or restricted public gatherings. I wonder what it's like now. We're taking action to protect our residents and ensure life can continue as normal during this unprecedented time, he said. We're advising against all non-essential travel. What is this essential, non-essential? Where did that come from? Who decides what's essential? In a free and open society, there is no such thing as a non-essential person or business. Please understand that. Let me repeat. Pete. In a free society, there is no such thing as a non-essential person or business. Don't be fooled. We are advising against all non-essential travel off the island, and the measures being introduced are aimed at minimizing the risk of those arriving in the island affecting our population. The Isle of Man's Public Health Directorate said it was working with the British government to implement Public Health England guidance. Remember, government is your overlord. MPs warned on Thursday that measures brought in by Westminster will significantly curtail fundamental freedoms in Britain, but don't worry, because they could be justified by the risk to life posed by corona. Justified. Really. Parliament's Joint Committee on Human Rights. Did you know the Parliament had a Joint Committee on Human Rights? Do you know who's on the board? Do you know who makes the decisions? I very much doubt it. Said it would be thoroughly scrutinising new laws and actions taken by authorities. The authority is scrutinising the authority, of course. Chair Harriet Harman said it's vitally important that checks and balances. What? What checks and balances are in place to ensure human rights are not disregarded? What are you talking about? You just throw them out the window. And the people remain fully protected under the law. It's the people that protect the people. That's how it works. And now there's another map at the bottom to scare the hell out of everybody who's not scared already. An emergency coronavirus bill has been published setting out measures aimed at slowing the speed of the virus and supporting the NHS and its workers, basically promoting the government and treating everyone else as insane. Police have already given new powers to detain anyone with suspected symptoms and force... How does this not make you shiver? Police have already been given new powers to detain anyone with suspected symptoms and force them to undergo testing or be quarantined. Well, that could never be abused, could it? Could never be abused. Although our senior officers insisted they would not be used willy-nilly. It's a comedy at the end to make you feel comfortable and happy about the fact that everything is going to be all right. This article is from The Independent, written by Lizzie Dearden, Home Affairs correspondent. Thank you, Lizzie. Next article. Now, this article pertains to what's happening in New Zealand, but the Commonwealth is essentially one system. Why do you think it's called the Commonwealth? Who do you think's the head? Anyway, a lot of the what governments are going to do right now under this quarantine is they're going to test what works in every country. Every country is going to try something a little bit different, and whatever measures work in terms of compliance, those measures will be adopted everywhere because the whole planet is a testing ground right now. And this is the new normal for everyone. So this article is from stuff.co.nz, New Zealand. And you can be sure that what works there, they will export to other places. Coronavirus. Police can now enter homes to look for people gathering. Police can now enter homes. I mean, it's... Tell me this is not planned. Tell me this is not perfect. Right? Go on. Oh, but they need it. No, where's your line? Don't you have a line? Is there a line somewhere that you're just not going to step over? You're not going to go beyond? Is everything okay? Really? Really? I thought people were supposed to isolate. Like, why are people going? Why are people going door to door? That's like the opposite of isolation. Don't you understand? Don't you understand? Or is it just that you don't want to understand? I don't know. But wow, it's a picture of a person on a bike. What's that got to do with anything? Police officers now have the power to enter homes to enforce self-isolation rules. That's not straight out of 1984 at all, is it? Did you read, or did you just binge watch every series that you could find on the internet of internets or Netflix or whatever garbage mind-numbing media that they call entertainment that you consume? I don't know. What I'm trying to say is that don't numb your own skull, right? Police officers now have the power to enter homes to enforce self-isolation rules. Frightening. Frightening. I mean, it would be interesting to go back in history and to see which other countries implemented this at which times and why. Do you know? Do you care? We don't have enough time to go down that rabbit hole today, but think about it. Think about it. New Zealand entered a 4-week lockdown to break the transmission of coronavirus on Thursday. Overnight, police officers pulled over people who were breaking the self-isolation order, apparently unaware it was in place. You can't even communicate stuff to the public. It's ridiculous. Police Commissioner Mike Bush, in a series of radio and TV interviews on Thursday morning, told everybody, don't worry, stay at home, shut up. Reiterated people will initially see the friendly face of police during the friendly face. They're not doing anything friendly at all. You know, it's just abuse. All it is abuse. They say I love you as they punch you. They say I love you as they punch you. Do you get it? Do you get it yet? I don't think you do. But we'll be ensuring people will comply, because if they don't, people will die. Comply or die. Where did they get that? Where did they get this Orwellian language? Did they just copy passages from the book? The future is a boot stamping on the human face forever. Winston. He said police already had to educate people on the self-isolation order overnight. You see how fast it happened? Unannounced. Without warning. He said police already had to educate people on the self-isolation order overnight and would continue this informative approach unless people intentionally flout the rules. Do whatever we tell you to, or that's it, you're screwed. Police officers would first issue a warning, then arrest people if needed. Well, what choice have you got? Bush said police would only prosecute serious offenders, but those arrested will be having a little trip to our place. It's a wee trip, guys. Enjoy the ride. The public want that. They want to comply because they're really worried. Who died and made you God? What are you talking about? He said it would pay for people to carry workplace identity cards. Workplace identity cards. I wonder where in the past we had that. Or letters from employers to prove they were an essential. See, it's the same Orwellian language. They control the language and you control the people. Look, every paragraph which is usually only a sentence, is because people are so dumbed down they can't read extended paragraphs anymore. Look, it's all interspersed with scary material. A nationwide state of emergency was declared on Wednesday, giving police wide-ranging powers under the Civil Defense Emergency Management Act. Let's give it a long name, guys. Police can enter any premises under the belief it would save lives. Well, that's not going to be abused at all, is it? What if I have a belief I'm going to save a life by doing whatever it is that I need to do? Huh? Doesn't that matter? If we suspect there are gatherings inside places, we're unable to go in there. We'll do everything we can to make sure people comply. You're no longer safe in your own home. Do you understand? Do you understand the revolutions of history that began because people were no longer safe in their own homes? Do you understand? I'm not joking. He said police would be monitored. Who's monitoring the police? Do you know how much percent of crime is actually carried out by the police themselves? He said police would be monitoring activity around the country and would deploy to areas that showed increased activity. There were several hundred soldiers ready to assist police with foot patrols. Soldiers! They're putting soldiers on the bloody streets. While roadblocks were not in place and were not planned, don't believe that for a second. Don't think they haven't got some map somewhere with everything charted and marked out. Bush said that such a measure could be used if there were areas... Wait, he's just contradicted himself. Roadblocks were not planned, but such a measure could be used. Sneaky, sneaky snake. Roadblocks were not in place and were not planned. I don't think this is not, if you speak English, if you live in an English-speaking country, if you're in part of the Commonwealth, the former empire, don't think this is not coming to you one way or another. Right? And they're inserting, they're blocking the physical communication between people, and they're forcing people to use the technology, which means that the technology lies between the people, and that has its own issues. While roadblocks were not in place and were not planned, Bush said such a measure could be used if there were areas in which many people did not comply. People could expect to be pulled over and questioned, however. Even though roadblocks were not planned, they could expect to be pulled over and questioned. When are you going to learn, guys? Bush said that there could be an increase in dishonesty crime. What the hell is dishonesty crime? What is it what's the name for that thing where you put two words together and they both have the same meaning? Like if it's contradictory, it's like an oxymoron. Is it tautology? Is that it? I'm not sure. An increase in dishonesty crime, like theft, as opposed to honesty crime? What the hell are you talking about? You insane monster. There would definitely be an increase in domestic violence. Of course there will, because the police are not going out anywhere. People are isolated in their homes. You're trapping people together. They can't get their breathing space. We'll be deploying into that with urgency. Scary, scary, frightening, nightmare of a story from stuff.co.nz. Sorry, people. I feel sorry for you guys if you live there. But then that's probably coming everywhere. Next, the good old BBC. The British Broadcasting Corporation, formerly known as the Ministry of Information. I kid you not. Coronavirus. Paris bans daytime outdoor exercises. Now, once again, they're testing out different methods in different countries to see what people will accept, and if they accept it in one place, they'll apply it everywhere. Don't think this is not coordinated. This is a worldwide mission that certain groups of people will stop at nothing to achieve. And we'll get into, in another video, we'll get into the who, where, what, why, and when of whatever is behind this takeover. And not just physically, psychologically. They're going to... There. Oh, there we go. Oh, look. My phone has decided to talk to me. What? The phone has decided to talk to me. See, this is... Did you think they're not listening? My phone has just decided to comment on my commentary. And you think they're not listening? Which actually makes me realize, use this stuff to our advantage. Okay, Google, what is tautology? Let me see if it brings up something.
This is the definition of tautology.
Yeah.
The saying of the same thing twice over in different words, generally considered to be a fault of style, e.g. they arrived one after the other in succession.
Okay, yeah, so I was right. Tautology. Repetition of an idea. There we go. So thank you very much, Google. There we go. We don't even know what's good for us, right? But then that still doesn't give other people the right to decide. We need to be able to make decisions about our own destiny. Anyway, France, Paris is going to it's going to ban. It says bans daytime outdoor exercise. So can you go out at night? I don't. Why do they even put that in? Is that to make people feel more comfortable? Is that to soften the impact of it? Language is control, guys. Don't think it's anything less than that. Language is control. Authorities in Paris have banned exercise outside during the day as deaths from coronavirus continue to rise in France daily. If what you did and are doing already is not working, then doubling down on it is not going to work anymore, unless of course you're getting the results that you want and you want to increase them. Think about it. Think about it. Process the information. Try to be logical. Try to be logical. Make that link between cause and effect. The new rules are enforced between 10 and 7 when people would be out normally, right? And come into effect on Wednesday. When is this? What's the date for this? 7th of April. So today is the 8th. So hurrah today. Well done. People in Paris can't go outside at all, basically. How do you define exercise? If they just banned going out, I mean, is exercise just a word for going out? We've banned you from going out, so we're going to call it exercise. Because does that mean I can go out and not exercise? I don't know. The new rules are enforced between 10 and 7 local time and come into effect on Wednesday. The death toll in France has risen above 10,000, if you can actually trust the official statistics. The fourth highest figure after Italy, Spain and the US. And why is it higher there? And I don't know. We got to get into we got to get into the statistics and numbers thing as well, because I'm seeing information from all sides. I'm seeing it's worse and I'm seeing it's better, and I have a tendency to go with the fact that I actually think it's better, because the media tends to hype things, making them sound worse than they are, because they know it sells. They know that and all the media are doing right now is causing panic. It's all they're doing. They're causing stress, they're causing panic, and they've got to be held accountable for it as well by somebody somewhere. Do you know there's no rule, there's no law that says the media has to tell the truth? I mean, how insane is that? How completely insane. The toll in French hospitals, not counting care homes, was 607, not counting, why are they not counting care homes? 607 for the past 24 hours. Of course, and what they're also doing with birth certificates is you usually die of more than one thing, so how can you put one, if you've got a pre-existing condition, how can you say that the virus is the cause of death? You can't, and then also the virus is mutating as well, so it's not just one thing. It is originally it's a bioengineered version of SARS. It's a bioengineered version of the corona flu virus, and it's a nightmare, and we can't just leave it to the authorities who created the problem and are probably making it worse to make all the decisions about making it better. The answers lie with the people. The answers always lie with the people. The total now is 10,000. Oh, but you're going to kill people if you don't do it. You see how it works? They don't even know what they're doing, right? That's how we got in this mess in the first place. The total now is 10,328, a rise of 16% compared with the Monday total. However, the latest data for care homes is not complete. I imagine most of the data is not complete. Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo and the Chief of Police said the new jogging rules would make people exercise when the streets are generally at their quietest. Surely exercise at any time has got to be better than no exercise. And these are the healthy people. Why would you not want the healthy people to stay healthy? Italy, with the world's highest death toll, registered 604 corona deaths in the past 20. It's all numbers. It's a numbers game. So its downward trend is continuing. The figure on Monday was and they're creating the new normal, 636. The total has now reached 17,001. People won't, you know what's happened? People will read this and they won't remember 5 minutes after they've read it what the numbers were. And then the next day the media can print anything and people are not going to remember what the numbers were there either. The Paris daytime, and then they'll trust that somebody else who compiles it will be able to explain it to them. The Paris daytime jogging ban followed a sunny weekend marked by large groups of people running and walking in the city's parks. How evil. Despite police controls that included fines for violating the lockdown. On Tuesday, French Health Minister Olivier Véran said the outbreak yet to reach its peak. No, that's not French, but never mind. The outbreak had yet to reach its peak. Is that French? I don't know. Telling broadcaster BFM TV, we're still in the worsening phase of the epidemic. They're really not aware of what's going on. And where are they getting their numbers from? France has been under strict lockdown measures for almost a month, and that hasn't bloody worked. So why do you want to continue it? It doesn't make any sense. Anyone who goes outside is required to carry a document stating their reason for leaving their home. Frightening, absolutely frightening. Shopping for necessities, visiting a doctor or exercise within 1 kilometre, half a mile of their address. Frightening. Police have fined hundreds of thousands of people for breaking the tight restrictions. There have been positive signs that the outbreak may be slowing. Then why are you tightening things down? Monday's figures from the French health ministry showed only a small rise of people who needed intensive care treatment. But there have also been concerns about the situation in French care homes. Really, I think the government cares about the old people. Until recently, reported deaths from the virus only included those who died in hospitals and not elsewhere. Hidden statistics. Mr. Véran, and how can you trust the statistics if the statistics are not complete? Mr. Véran on Monday announced there would be a vast operation nationwide to screen nursing homes, their residents and care workers in a bid to tackle the crisis. So that was from the BBC. Now, moving on. Never enough tabloid information. Oh look, there's a nice big picture on the page. I'm sure that there was never any blackmail involved with one of those two people. No chance of, from the mirror.co.uk, no chance of UK lockdown being lifted after 3 weeks, government admits. No chance. So it's not working then, is that right? Government will not be lifting the coronavirus lockdown imminently, if ever. Meaning it will stretch beyond the initial 3-week period. It has been confirmed. This evening, Dominic Raab, who is deputising for Boris Johnson while the PM is in intensive care. They got him out of the way, didn't they? Said the worst thing the country could do would be to take its foot off the pedal. Where do they get this language from? Where does he said it's too early to consider lifting the restrictions, which state Brits can only leave their homes for essential trips and exercise. I guarantee you there's an elite group of people somewhere laughing their heads off at the stupidity of the average person. When the lockdown was announced on March the 23rd, Mr. Johnson said the unprecedented measure would be reviewed after 3 weeks, meaning it could have been lifted at the start of the week. You see? It's not. They're not going to do it. But the UK is not in a position where it is safe to change the rules, Mr. Raab said. Nevertheless, the government's chief scientific officer, Sir Patrick Vallance, said there were encouraging signs the lockdown was working. I wonder what they're not telling us. Mr. Raab said in terms of the review, we're not at that stage yet. Like they've got stages, have they? We will take any decision when the time is right based on the facts and the scientific and medical advice. You see, the government is not in control. The government is not in control. Scientific and medical advice. The technocrats are in control. Our number one and overriding focus right now is on conveying the key message, which is that everyone needs to keep adhering to this guidance. There's a long Easter bank holiday weekend coming up, warm weather, and we understand people are making big sacrifices to follow this guidance. Really? Do you really understand? Do you really understand? Stay home, protect the NHS, save lives. What a most... It's Orwellian in its psychological approach, where logic and illogical points, the misuse of logic, they're stuck together just to cause the brain to melt, together with a random statement. I mean, look, I'm all for saving lives, right? I think we should have done it a long time ago. Don't you think? Why is nobody talking about where all this stuff is coming from, right? Why is nobody talking about Event 201, right? Why is nobody talking about the origin of the virus, right? Why is nobody talking about the genetic engineering, right? Why is nobody talking about the weapons laboratories in universities, right? It is helping and it's contributing to our ability to tackle the coronavirus. I guess he's talking about the lockdown there. The worst thing now would be to take our foot off the pedal and ease up and risk losing the gains that have been made. What gains, you spanner? What gains? You think the coronavirus bill had gains for the average person? It is absolutely critical that people keep up that, and then once government merges with private business, once it financially takes over a certain percentage over, it's done, it's finished, it's gone. You understand? Where's government going to get its money from then? Where's government getting its money from now? Who's paying for it? How much do they have to pay back? Do you even know? It is absolutely critical that people keep up that discipline and that the vast majority will. We hope everyone will follow that example. There we go. The government's chief scientific officer, Sir Patrick, said the number of new cases could be moving in the right direction, but it would not be clear for a week or so. Just hold on, people. It'll be fine. They're buying time. They're buying time. He told the Daily Downing Street press conference, it's possible that we're beginning to see the beginning of change in terms of the curve. You know what the change is? The changes in human behavior. We won't know that for sure for a week or so. There hasn't been the accelerated takeoff and gain. It's possible that we're beginning to see the start of it. Are they just repeating the same language again and again here? Okay, so the 4 reasons you can now leave your home are shopping for basic necessity as infrequently as possible, 1 form of exercise a day, run, walk, cycle, any medical need or to provide care or help to a vulnerable person. We're all vulnerable people in this situation, don't you understand? Traveling to and from work, but only where this is absolutely necessary and cannot be done from home. There won't be places to go at the end of this, guys. There won't be any. Mr. Raab said he was confident the Prime Minister would pull through. He's a fighter. He certainly is. He remained stable overnight. Etc., etc., etc. Little reminder with a number at the end that everyone's going to forget. Interesting. Interesting. Lot of ignorance, people. Lot of ignorance. Lot of ignorance. That's the mirror.co.uk. We've got 2 more stories. Do we have time? Here we go. Business Insider. It's not even a British site. It's funny when you have to go to foreign media to get information about your own country. It's just bizarre. The UK plans to issue coronavirus immunity passports so people can leave the lockdown early. You see, that's what they want. That was the plan from the start. You're not going to be able to leave without permission, and you're not going to get permission without, let's see, perhaps a medical certificate, huh? Perhaps a little jab in your arm. Perhaps a sample of something, perhaps a sample of your blood or your DNA, huh? What do you think? But it's all good, right? It's all good, right? Right? The UK plans to issue coronavirus immunity passports so people can leave the lockdown early. Scary picture. The UK plans to, they had these ready really quickly, didn't they? They have these ready really quickly. You know how long it takes to get like a road built or a bridge built or a piece of your local community tidied up and organized, or you know, they had this ready really quickly. The UK plans to roll out immunity passports to people who have already contracted COVID-19. We've all got it, guys. We've all got it. To allow them to return to normal life. Normal life. The Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, said on the Health Secretary. Really? I wonder how healthy the Health Secretary is. We are looking at an immunity certificate. Do you have your immunity certificate? Hancock said, they're surprised they don't have robots just going round knocking on the doors, right? Oh, it's so difficult to carry a certificate everywhere. We're going to have to put it in your phone, and you have to carry your phone everywhere, or damn it, we'll just tattoo your skin. We're looking at an immunity certificate, Hancock said at a Downing Street press conference. People who have had the disease have got the antibodies and then have immunity. Just the ignorance of that statement is beyond belief. Can show that and therefore get back. You know that it's a recurring virus, that you can't really develop complete immunity to it as far as we know yet. People who have had the disease have got the antibodies and then have immunity and can show that they've got whatever, and they can get back to work, blah blah blah. He said that is something we will be doing and we will look at, but it is too early in the science to be able to put clarity around that. But they've got the passports ready, just in case. The UK has already ordered millions of antibody tests. However, the tests have so far proven ineffective and the government has yet to approve them for use. Can we trust these people? How can we trust these people? The early results of some of them have not performed. How are they supposed to perform? Hancock said, but we hope the later tests we've got are reliable enough for people to be confident in using them. Where are they getting the tests from? Do they even work? Hancock said hundreds of thousands of tests could take place every day. Oh, and they might have to be introduced regularly as well. Oh, how convenient we can do it in schools. However, coronavirus testing has had mixed success around the world. Spain was recently forced to return tens of thousands of rapid coronavirus tests from a Chinese company after they were found to provide inconsistent results. I don't even know what that means. And China hasn't been able to solve its problem, so why are we taking tests from there? Some tests have demonstrated false positives. Oh, that's grand. Detecting antibodies to much more common coronaviruses. Interesting. Scientists also remain unsure about the extent to which a past infection could prevent reinfection and how long an immunity would remain. There's a little bit of truth. Germany is also examining the possibility of issuing immunity passports. Oh, it's not just in one place. Oh, how lucky that everybody's got the same idea. Researchers at the Helmholtz Center for Infection Research in Germany plan to send out hundreds of thousands of antibody tests over the coming weeks that could allow people to break free of their lockdowns, Der Spiegel reported on Friday. Can I? You need you need to get socks. Yeah, go and get socks. Can you get around me to get the socks from the sock drawer? Welcome to reality. Yeah, sure. I'm just gonna like 5 more minutes. I'm just gonna get through these last 2 articles. If the project is approved, the researchers will test 100,000 people at a time starting this month, Der Spiegel said. The tests are designed to detect, if they work, the tests are designed to detect whether a person has developed antibodies to the COVID-19 virus. The antibodies indicate that the tested person was at one time a carrier and may have built up immunity, and it probably is going to test positive if they had any type of basic cold as well, but they're not going to tell you that. A positive test could allow the person, it could also transfer, anyway, a positive test could allow the person to leave lockdown, while many positive tests would allow government to ease restrictions. What if everyone's got it and they don't let people out? Huh? What are you going to do then? Or is that what you want? Yes, psychopaths. Gerard Krause, the epidemiologist leading the project, told the magazine that people who are immune could be given a type of vaccination card. Oh, please don't do that, guys. A vaccination card that, for example, allows them to be exempted from restrictions on their work. So if you don't get vaccinated, you can't work. Do you know that the World Health Organization had a closed-door conference on vaccines? Do you know that there's a vaccine damage fund? And do you know why have you seen the congressional record on testimonies on the safety of viruses? Have you seen any of that? Have you seen any of that? Have you? Have you? Have you read Murder by Injection or the other hundreds of books full of the statistical failure of vaccination? But don't worry. Crazy thing is, not all vaccinations are a bad idea, and the principle is quite good, but if you read into the history of it, it's false in essence, especially for younger people. Now, if you're gonna, the good case for vaccination is if you're going to India on holiday or something like that, and you're going to be breathing different air and eating different food and walking around in a different environment and a place that might be slightly less hygienic. You know, that there is some science to show that vaccines have a practical application there, but beyond that, scary stuff. Do you even know what's in a vaccination? Do you know what an adjuvant is? Do you know how the body reacts to that? Do you? Do you really want to hurt me? Germany has one of the lowest COVID-19 death rates, which some experts and commentators said is a result of extensive testing. Of course it is, because that's what they want you to believe. They'll make you believe anything. This article was a short article from Business Insider. The UK plans to issue immunity passports. And no one's going to be able to tell themselves if it's going to be based totally on that principle of trust that the people who are doing know what they're doing, and hell, I'm pretty sure most of them don't. Final article. Welfare Weekly. This is only half the number of articles. This is only half that I wanted to get through. Do you realize you're being bombarded with information? It's going to wear you down or out or something like that. And as all the articles have said already, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Not just because of the virus, because of the rules that are being introduced. And a lot of the rules are going to aggravate things. They're going to make things worse. For all different elements of community, for all different reasons. They're talking about taking babies away from the parents if family has the disease. I already read the article. They're talking about going into people's homes to see if anyone's hiding there. Where's it going to end? When are you going to say no? Or have you been so well trained that you can't say that anymore? Welfare Weekly. Coronavirus. Older people pressured into signing do not resuscitate forms. Charities warn. That they're being pressured into a sort of assisted suicide, basically. I mean, what kind of world are we living in? We're killing people before they're born. We're killing people before they die. It's a culture of madness. Where's the respect for the wisdom of the older generation and the hard times that they've been through? But I get it. Not everybody is a good person. Crazy, isn't it? Isn't that a crazy thought? Not everybody's a good person. We're all on the road, right? We're all on the road. So where are we? Older people pressured into signing do not resuscitate forms. Shameful and unacceptable. Policy must be abandoned immediately. See, how did we even get to this point? Older people are being pressured into signing do not resuscitate DNR forms as a means of alleviating some of the pressures faced by the NHS during the coronavirus crisis. It's a crisis. They have to use the word crisis. Don't worry, it's a crisis. A group of elderly care charities have warned. How did the NHS get to this point anyway? It's great how they blame the people, isn't it? That the government fails and they blame the people. The charities warn they are seeing shocking examples where blanket decisions seem to be being made about the care and treatment options that will be available to older and vulnerable people. In an open letter published today, the charities describe the cruel practice as shameful and unacceptable and call for the policy to be immediately scrapped. Difficult, just skipping a little bit here. Difficult and painful decisions will need to be made in the weeks ahead, but these must be made on a case-by-case basis, taking into account the risks and benefits and people's own wishes through honest discussions between patients, doctors and families. They love to they love to paint the horror of the picture with beautiful colors. Whether or not to sign a DNACPR form, because that's all it's DNACPR form. It's an individual's decision and they have the right to make that decision without feeling pressured. Right. I'd like to think of an analogy for that, but it's just so extreme. How can you not be under pressure with the concept of death to a certain extent? The charities say that they understood that the NHS and social care sectors are facing significant pressures, but add that it's critical that we continue to protect people's fundamental human rights. The letter states, it would be completely unacceptable to abandon these rights in favour of taking blanket discriminatory decisions. Blah, 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 but, however, etc. In addition to that, furthermore, as a result, it is also crucial that governments and health services across our 4 nations carefully consider the ways they can provide stronger leadership and guidance to ensure that people's rights are upheld and communication with vulnerable people is handled in a far more sensitive way to avoid further worry and upset as we navigate the difficult path ahead. There we go. Welfare Weekly. Farewell, guys. Farewell. Right. That's it. So what? Well, that's where we're at, right? That's where we're at. We've got to be careful. We've got to be vigilant. We've got to be sensible. We've got to be practical. We've got to be actual, and we have to stay safe. And we have to look after each other, and we have to continue to communicate with each other. Communication is key to all those elements of success. If you have a story that you'd like me to cover, if there's something of interest, if you disagree, drop me a note. Happy to discuss it, because I'm not going to rubbish anyone's opinion because it's different from mine. We all come from different places, different spaces, and we all see things slightly differently. So let's be open to each other's ideas. That's about it today. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Wherever you are, stay cool. More soon.